Thank you. Ditto. So I really wanted to tell this story for quite a while. I mean, I've told it many times. And in fact, I'm not new to the tell. I wanted to tell this at the theme, Don't Judge Me But. My name didn't get pulled, but I had as much anxiety about that that night as I do right in this moment. But this story does incorporate a lot of firsts. It incorporates my first city of choice, my first apartment of choice, my first pet of choice. And in fact, I have used this story to be a litmus test for several first dates. Some of them have gone, it's been more well received at some than others. I will say that. Walters. Yes! So I'm going to back up about, I don't know, like 4 years, something like that. And I'm driving down the road from Bemidji after seeing family. I'm going to class, and I'm like taking a road trip by myself, and I'm like an empowered woman, and I'm like, yeah, got this. This is beautiful. There's like sun flare and everything. It's spiritual. And then there's a dead porcupine on the road. And in that that split second, when you look down and you see it, and it's not just a blur, and you're like, oh my God, you have the cutest face. It looks like you're just taking a nap on the side of the road. I did that, and it changed me. So I went on a 4-month-long hunt for the next best thing, because living in your first small one-bedroom apartment, you don't get to have things that shoot quills. If you have any higher brain function, anyways. And I would like to claim at least 4 brain cells. So the next best thing is obviously the smaller version of that, which is a hedgehog, which are not native to this area, weirdly enough. They run rampant other places. And so I went on a search, 4 states and Canada, because I was like, I feel like I've seen these before. This is a thing. Around. Takes an exotic pet license. Who knew? So I found one in Harmar. It was an ordeal getting to that point, but that's the unimportant part of the story. So I find my hedgehog, and he is blind. He has red eyes, and he's albino, and he's kind of stupid also, but he's mine, and he is my first, I chose you, and I'm bringing you into my home and my bosom, and fuck, ouch. A little bit. He liked to take naps on my chest, and that went better sometimes, not so much others. But everyone I knew was like, dude, you should name him. You should dye him blue, and you should name him Sonic, because that'd be fucking hilarious. Just go to hell. All of them. That's all I heard for years of owning him. So instead, I just named him Pokey Super Poke, because that's much more badass. I'm going to just kind of skip over a lot of Pokey Super Poke's life, because it entailed running on his wheel at night and shitting while doing so. And then sleeping under a margarine tub container during the day, and then me cleaning shit out of his box. So and being very quiet. So he was sort of he was in the biggest Rubbermaid container that you can find. He was in that in the corner. And sometimes we would take naps together, and sometimes we would bathe him in the sink, and it was really cute. And I did truly adore him for 3 years. And then there was the morning where I'm making breakfast, and there were many days in which it was easy to forget that he existed, because he just didn't ask for much. He just didn't really need all that much from me. And so my partner at the time then found him one morning and was just like, oh, look what he's... Meg, I think we have to have a conversation. And I knew in that moment, Pokey Super Poke was not on this, in his corporeal whatever anymore. He was really dead. And so, like, I mean, it could go one of two ways. It could like, either he just ate his own shit one too many times, or I was a neglectful pet owner. And I'm gonna go with this one, where he just pooped in his water bowl one too many times, and this is the way of things, and he was old. So what do? You've got like a very tiny corpse, and you're like sad and you're crying, and you're like, well, I can't possibly make any really like significant choices right in this moment. So we're just gonna table this conversation and this decision for later. Because I had talked about, like, wouldn't it be so badass to like have a stuffed hedgehog? Like, wouldn't that be the coolest? Like, have an albino hedgehog on your mantelpiece. Because I was like an art student with like anime hair, and like that's what you do. So in the freezer goes Pokey Super Poke. This is the point at which I will share with you all I'm a vegan, and so I had dead body in my freezer. The irony is not lost on me at all. So. That was fun. And then, you know, like, it was just sort of like a delaying of this decision. I found out how much it takes to actually taxidermy and how much it costs, which is not in my, like, budget as at the time an art student. But I did have access to, like, a forge and bronze casting. So you can imagine, like, somebody running around with, like, a stick and a hedgehog bronzed on the end, and that's like a mace, and that would be awesome. Am I right? So that didn't happen. And so, you know, there were any number of other ways that could go. Like, but we could make a mold of him, and then he'd be like many like bookends, or like it could just be like a puddle of like bronze Pokey Super Pokes. It could be all of these things. None of those things happened because it became time to like move. Our apartment building got bought out, and we couldn't live there anymore, and so we had to move. And yet here was this like triple bagged, like, you know, sort of this shape, like grocery bags, not even like hermetically sealed or anything, just anyways. So Pokey Super Poke went to his next freezer, which was my next apartment, because like I just couldn't make the decision at that time. I was like, yeah, I've had a year or so to figure out what to do. I just haven't quite gotten there yet. Like, because at a certain point, like there needed to be more ceremony to it. That may or may not be the way I make a lot of decisions, but like there just needed to be like some pomp and circumstance. Like, he was a weird little creature, and he's been in the freezer for a long time. So to the next freezer he went, where I lived with a couple of very accommodating roommates. And there we are at the end of our 1-year lease together. We're all scrubbing down this house, and somebody's cleaning the freezer, and it's like the last thing. And here I go with the last truckload to the thrift store, and one of my roommates happens to remind me, Meg, aren't you forgetting something? You still have a hedgehog in the freezer. I don't know. What am I supposed to do with it today? Like, I can't just dig a hole and bury him. Like, it doesn't feel right. He's been with us this long. 3 years in spirit. I mean, in body and spirit and all of the things. And then like 2 years just hanging out. Really good pet owner. So to the next apartment he goes, and to the next freezer. Now, freezer number 3. Some of you know the end of the story already. It's good. Okay, so to the third freezer he goes, and this is going to be my last apartment in Fargo. This is my last chance to tell, because I'm leaving Fargo in a week. This is significant. Because all of a sudden it was the end of my lease at that next apartment, which was like a month ago or 2 months ago, and once again, I'm not sure how you do this. I mean, as a conscientious pet owner, but like once again, I almost forgot that I had bodies in my freezer. Now, mind that I said bodies this time. And again, vegan. So that those two things don't really mesh together very well. He'd accumulated some friends in that year. I don't judge me, but I had my former roommate who I lived with would run dead things through printing presses. So I happened upon a woodpecker as I was walking home from a really depressing play, and I was just like, oh, more dead things, and texted him and was like, are you still doing that thing where you do the thing with the things in the press, running? And he texted me back, where is it and how fresh? So at 2 a.m., in my underwear, I run up 8th Street by Nicole's, and I'm just like, do 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 do. I have a bag on my hand, you're picking up dog poop. I'm just gonna. Pokey has a friend. So Woody joined Pokey in the freezer. So now there are two. And throughout the next couple of months, I found out that I was living with a homicidal maniac. My once loving cat Pogue, I found out was instead rooftop murder death squad. Waking up, as you do. It's beautiful, things are fluttering, and I'm like, oh, he's playing by himself. This is we've gotten to a new level in our cohabitation, and then put on the spectacles and realize, oh God, it's a body. It's a little bird body. So that happened a few times. There's already a precedent set here, so in the freezer they go. Why? Because they had a bad end of life, so they should have some sort of a beautiful send-off. And of course I decided that a Viking funeral pyre, lighting the boat on fire and sending it up the red, is the way to go. Because I'm leaving Fargo and it's also my last hurrah. And then I did a Google search and watched a YouTube video, and so I'm an expert now on Viking funeral pyres and things. And so that's not a thing that can actually happen. It's a myth. I encourage you to look it up yourselves. So instead, I now have 3 birds, a hedgehog. They're in their 6th freezer. I have 5 days left in Fargo to find a way to dispose of them with pomp and circumstance. And so, they're at least there until Warren decides to get rid of them from his freezer. But so if anyone wants to build a funeral pyre with me, totally on the banks of the Red, and then we'll just send a boat off, but not the things together, we could totally do that. And thank you for being so gentle on my first time. Yeah!